Okay, so happy to be back with you guys. I apologize last week for only doing one class. It was a hectic week and I didn't feel well in the beginning. So hopefully, Bezrat Hashem, we're going to be able to get a few classes this week. So please pray for that. So I'm excited right now. We're going to do the third Sicha of Sichot HaRan. And this is similar to the first Sicha with some different points. So we're going to go over it together. And this is how it goes. It cannot be put into writing how much the Rabbi emphasized how great Hashem is. He stressed that it's beyond all measure. Hashem does so many wonderful things that absolutely no one can really appreciate them all. So there's many times that positive things are happening to us and we don't realize it because it's the nature of a person to focus specifically on the negative thing that's happening to him. That one thorn in his side, as long as we have that one thorn, we can't pay attention to all the roses. But in truth, there's always a lot of roses. And this is why Rabbi Nachman brings the pasuk. It says, Becharta, what is it? In a constriction. This is from, I believe, the fourth parak in Tehillim. That King David says that in a constricted space, you put an expanse for me. So the basic understanding of it is that even though I'm in a constricted space right now, or I'm suffering, Hashem is going to create an expanse. He's going to turn this constriction, this tsar, this struggle, this suffering into the expanse that I need. But Rabbi Nachman says the deeper secret here is that within the tsar itself, within the constriction, there's an expanse. Within the suffering itself, there's something very positive that's taking place. And you have to pay attention and you have to attune your eyes and your heart and your mind to where is B'tzar B'chaftali, where is this expanse in the tsar? So this is one of the reasons why Rabbi Nachman says it's so important to Hitbodedut, because if you don't talk to Hashem every day, you just pay attention to the thorn. But when you force yourself in, let's say, the first 20 minutes of your hour of Hitbodedut to thank Hashem for everything in your life, so then you'll see that in truth, the reason why you're not paying attention to the good in your life is because you've had it for a long time. Let's say you've been healthy. So you've been healthy for a long time. You've been able to walk for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. You never thought about it, that you're able to walk and that it's a blessing. You don't have to be until it's taken from you, right? Or let's say you have children. So every day you have those children. But you forget about them when you are struggling at work to support your family. You forget about them when you have your own personal struggles. But then you say, thank you that I have children. There's so many people that don't have children. And the list goes on and on and on. The fact that you could see, the fact that you can hear, the fact that you can go to the restroom, it doesn't hurt you. All of these things are blessings. This is the reason why you make a blessing when you come out of the bathroom, because it's not natural. The fact that Hashem made us in such a way that it doesn't hurt at all when we use the restroom. And in fact, it's a source of pleasure. That's a tremendous blessing. It's a miracle. It's a nace. So that's why we make a blessing when we come out of the bathroom. These things are just on the surface level, are great things that Hashem does for us, and we don't think about it. Then you go even further than that. I used to listen to this band called Dave Matthews Band. So it was a song called Crush. It was a famous song by them. 1996. Obviously, you guys can see I was a very big fan. So he says we're walking in the world, and we're upside down. Are we right side up, or we're upside down? And what he's trying to have us hone in on, the great sage Dave Matthews, is that in truth, even though we're all walking right side up, the world could be completely upside down. Not like in a metaphoric sense, but literally. Because in truth, our Hashem made it that our perception is that we're always right side up. But the world could literally be, we can all be walking upside down right now in the world. You have to really think about it. But because of gravity and because of the laws of nature that Hashem created, and because the perception that Hashem placed in us, it always feels like we're walking straight and on top. And really, the world could be completely upside down. So in truth, it's such a nace. Can you imagine? There's so many times we're worried that we're going to fall off a roof, or we're worried we're going to trip. And that's like amateur hour compared to the fact that we might be completely upside down right now. and according to like how it should be, we should just fall into the galaxies and never be able to return. But we never have to worry about it. That's a tremendous kindness from Hashem. The fact that we have oxygen in this world. The one thing that we need is air, and it's the only thing that's free, and we have it all the time. We never think about it. When's the last time you said thank you that I have air to breathe? Can you imagine you didn't have air? Something like my ability to walk, or my ability to use my hands, my ability to move my head. If this thing was taken from me, oh my gosh, it's like I'll never be the same. But the real truth is, if you stop being able to breathe, you would die. That's much worse, right? There was a person, he used to go to the mikveh every morning. He would jump into a river, and he would hold his breath as long as possible until like he almost couldn't breathe anymore, until like he was going to suffocate. And then he would jump up out of the water and he'd take in all the air. They saw him. They said, "Why do you start your day like that? That's insane." He said, "Because the truth is, there's so much good in my life, but you forget so easily. So I go in the water every morning and I realize like I don't have to be able to breathe. And then I come up for air and I have that breath, and that breath is amazing. And I have oxygen. I bring it into my body. I'm like, I'm alive. It's a miracle." And he does it every morning. Rabbi Nachman wrote a book when he was 10 called Sefer Midot. And in that book, he says, a good thing when you go into the mikveh to hold your breath as long as possible under there. So I think one of the reasons why is because it helps you to reappreciate the fact that you can breathe air. This is something that we need. It's a tremendous kindness. It's everywhere. It's free. And it's the only thing we really need. And then you go even further. If we were any closer to the sun, we would burn up. If we were any further away from the sun, we would freeze over. These are things that we never think about. And it's tremendous kindnesses of Hashem. Now, Rabbi Nachman is saying, that's all just in the physical world. Imagine this physical world is very minute in comparison to spiritual reality. We know that according to Kabbalah, there is trillions of spiritual worlds above this physical world. And this physical world is actually the heights. If you took all of the billions or trillions of light years of this physical world, it doesn't equal in proportion to the next spiritual world above it, the smallest part of it. So it's like mind-blowing. And if you think about that whole entire spiritual world that's above it, so this is really mamash, not even a drop of water in the ocean, all the trillions of light years. And then you bring that spiritual world, you go up another world. So the same thing applies there, that in that higher spiritual world, the smallest part is bigger than that entire spiritual world below it, which is bigger than all of our physical world times a trillion, and I'm not even doing it justice. And this goes on infinitely. And then what's above all of these worlds? Hashem. So how great is Hashem? There's no words. It's if you really sit and contemplate and think about it, you won't be able to meditate on it because it's so mind-blowing, literally. So Rabbi Nachman says we have no idea how great Hashem is. We can't really appreciate how much he's doing in the ecosystem, how everything helps everything else. Even in the Jewish people, Rabbi Nachman says that when a person improves and he tries to become a better person, then automatically when he achieves a higher level, no two people can be in the same place at once. So as a result of that, you automatically knock every single other Jewish person in the world up a notch because you did. And now as a ripple effect, everybody else has to move as well. So there's so many things that are going on and we have no idea. Just as one more example, we see a very famous story in the Midrash where it's speaking about Yosef at Tzaddik. Very soon in the Torah, we're going to be learning about Yosef, who was the chosen son of Yaakov. We know that Yosef is the Tzaddik. We know that Rabbi Nachman, in many places, he likened himself to Yosef. We know that even though Yosef was such a great tzaddik, he suffered tremendously in his life trying to help his brothers. That even though he only meant well to be able to help the children of Yaakov, the children of Israel, it was the result of his good heart that he ended up suffering tremendously in prison, as a slave, as a servant, in exile from his family, from his country. And obviously, in the end of that, it was because of that whole experience that he was able to provide for the Jewish people in the times of a pandemic when everybody was dying from having no food. So the Midrash says that when Yosef was sold into slavery, that Reuven was doing tshuva. He was in sackcloth and he was tearing his garments because he felt like it was his fault that his youngest brother Yosef was sold into slavery, when really he should have stood up and told his brothers, we're not going to do this. Yehuda, who was considered the most elite of Yaakov's children, the king, so to speak, David comes from him, Mashiach comes from Yehuda. And what happened to Yehuda after Yosef was sold into slavery? He started to mingle with prostitutes, right? And what happened to Shimon and Levi? They killed an entire village. And what was going on with Yaakov, Yosef's father, when he heard that Yosef was gone? So he started crying to no end, and so to speak, this is like just this horror film that's coming out. This trauma that's running so deep and rippling within all of the Jewish people, that all of a sudden from Abraham to Yitzchak to Yaakov, it looks like we're going up and up and up. And then finally Yaakov has these 12 perfect children. It looks like we're finally going to be able to achieve the purpose of creation, to have this group of people who are going to be a light to the world. They're going to be teachers for the non-Jewish world, to be luminaries for this world, how to achieve spiritual heights and how to achieve progress and unity and love. And in one moment, the whole thing looks like it's blown up. And the Midrash says there, while all of this is taking place, Hashem is sowing the seeds of Mashiach. Because we know that through this event that Yosef ended up getting sold into slavery, that diminished Yehuda's status. And as a result of that, he ended up sleeping with a prostitute. And it was from that prostitute that ended up coming actually Peretz. And from Peretz ultimately comes Ruth. And from Ruth ultimately comes King David. And from King David ultimately comes the Mashiach. So in a way in which on paper or on the outside of life, it looks like everything is crumbling and everything is falling apart. Even right now, that we have this pandemic that's sweeping over and so many people have lost their lives or lost their jobs or lost their homes. And we're all suffering on the outside of life. It looks like everything is going to, I'm not going to say the word, but it's a 4-letter curse word. It looks like everything is going there. And yet the Midrash is saying that it's through this exact means that Hashem is bringing the Geula, that Hashem is bringing the redemption. And this, Rabbi Nachman says, we can't understand. We can't understand the greatness of Hashem. It's so far beyond our understanding. We may speak of Hashem, he says, but we know absolutely nothing. We don't know anything. I give this mashal often to my students. I had this this chiddush, this novelty of thought in my hibodedut while I was in the field when I was in Queens. And I was looking at this leaf in front of me. And on this leaf, there was a little tiny bug. And this little bug was walking across that leaf. And I was wondering to myself, imagine I was like that little bug, right? And I'm thinking to myself about all the troubles that are in my life, all the struggles in my life and those around me. Like, how could God do this? How could Hashem do this? How can it be like this? And that ant doesn't realize, that little bug doesn't realize he's so small in comparison to that leaf. He doesn't even see the other side of the leaf. And he doesn't even realize that leaf is only the smallest part of the branch that's coming out. And that branch is only an extension of that tree. And that tree, while it's gigantic, that tree is only one small tree in that field. And that field is full with all these gigantic trees and fields and irrigation and ecosystem. There's so many things going on in that field. And that field is only one field. This field leads to a whole entire municipality, a whole entire community, and that's only one city within Queens. And that city of Queens, or that place of Queens, is only one of the 5 boroughs of New York. And that's only considered New York City. And then outside of there, you have all upstate New York. And then you have New Jersey, and you have all the other states. And this is only America. And in America, you only have North America. And then you have all these other continents. And you have all the oceans. And that's only this physical earth. And then outside of there, you have billions of light years worth of space and of planets and of suns and of moons and of stars. And we don't know anything of it. And we sit here and we're upset and we're angry because we don't understand how Hashem can do things that don't make sense to us. And really, I realized that we're like that bug on that leaf. We just, like Rabbi Nachman says, we need to judge everybody favorably. We need to judge Hashem favorably. We don't know anything. How could we possibly know what we're going through means in the midst of everything? There's so much going on that we have no idea what's going on. It's contributing to this gigantic, beautiful plan, and we don't know. And we really should give Hashem the benefit of the doubt. Because if a person's honest and he does that hibodedut every day and he realizes how small we are, not insignificant, but just small, there's so much more going on and we don't know. It's said that the goal of all knowledge of Hashem is to realize that one doesn't know anything. But even this, he says, can't really be attained. Shlomo Melech, who was the smartest man who ever lived, the wisest man who ever lived, he said at the end of the day, I searched for knowledge, I searched for truth my whole life. He said, and I'm far from it. So the simple explanation of this is that really at the end of all of his searching, he didn't find it. However, Rabbi Nachman teaches, no, he found it. He found that he's far from it. That means he found it. Because according to Rabbi Nachman, according to Kabbalah, the highest level of knowing is to know you don't know anything. In terms of the Sfirot, we have the 10 Sfirot. The highest Sfirah is called Keter. Keter in Kabbalah is called the unknowable head. And below that, you have Chokhmah, Bina, and Da. That is wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. These are spheres that are so high, they exist at the root of existence. The root of existence, above the angels and above all of spiritual reality, above the roots of our souls, you have Chokhmah. You have this thing called wisdom. You have the world of Atzilut. You have the world of nearness, of emanation. But above that world in which there is knowing, there is a place that's even higher that we don't know anything about. Not because we don't know anything about it, but because that place is so high, the knowledge there is so high, it's the knowing that you don't know. Like Rabbi Nachman used to quip, he would say that my teachings are so hidden, they're so concealed, they're so esoteric, that even when I reveal them, they're still completely hidden. So what does that mean? It means they come from Keter. They come from the crown of Hashem's light. And in that place, the knowledge is so high, you know you don't know. But he says, even when you get there, Rabbi Nachman says, you still haven't attained it. This goal pertains to every level of insight. One may reach a level of realizing he doesn't know anything in a certain place. And that's amazing. That means he reached the apex of knowledge in that place. When a person comes to the realization, I don't know anything, he reached the tachlis. He reached the purpose of that experience in his life, to know he doesn't know. But he only reached it in that particular area and on that given level. There is still the next level, and this hasn't even been touched. He does not even know enough of the next level to reach and to recognize his ignorance of it. He's so ignorant of that next level that he doesn't even know there is a next level to be ignorant of. And no matter how high he goes, there's still a higher step. Therefore, in truth, Rabbi Nachman says, a person doesn't know anything. A person knows nothing. And still, he can't perceive that he doesn't know anything. This is the greatness of Hashem, that he made us in such a way that we are oblivious to our ignorance. This is what Rabbi Nachman saying. For there's always a degree of not knowing on a level that lies beyond our perception. And now Rabbi Nachman ends by teaching us a very huge chizuk, a tremendous encouragement that comes from this. Because if anybody wants to know what's the essence of Rabbi Nachman's lessons, what is the main ikar, what is the foundational element that he brought, that he emphasized more than anybody, and anyone who's familiar with Rabbi Nachman's teachings knows the ikar, the foundation, like Rabbi Akiva said about the Torah, v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, to love your brother like yourself. This is the foundation of the whole Torah. If you know this mitzvah, you know the whole thing. So what's the main mitzvah of Rabbi Nachman? What's the foundation of Rabbi Nachman's Torah? Rabbeinu sha'ag b'kol gadol, that Rabbeinu screamed when he had tuberculosis, and blood was being coughed up from his mouth. He was throwing up buckets of blood, literally buckets of blood. His students were watching him, and they said to him, they couldn't watch him because they were crying hysterically from watching their Rabbi suffer so much. They left the room. And then he came to them the next day, said, "Why did you guys leave?" They said, "We can't watch you suffer like that. You're literally throwing up blood. We're watching you die. We can't watch that." He said, "If you would have just stayed a little bit longer, I would have gave you the most wondrous Torah lesson." Because for Rabbi Nachman, ain't shum yeyosh ba'olam klal. There's no such thing as despair in the world at all. That this is the nafkamina. Who cares how great Hashem is? Why does that matter so much? Why is that the banner that Rabbi Nachman's waving for us and screaming to us that within the first 3 Sichas of Sichot HaRan, 2 of them are only about how great Hashem is. So what? The answer is that this is the source for Ein Shum Yerush Ba'olam Klal. Because Hashem is so great, because we can't fathom him at all, because we can't fathom anything at all, because we don't know anything, this is the source for never giving up. Because you don't know enough to give up. A person who wants to give up, it's because he thinks he knows he's done. He thinks he knows he's cooked. He's out. Like I've spoken about many times in the past, that by the time that I got to the psych ward and I'm on the verge of giving up, unfortunately, on life, where does that come from? It comes from thinking that I have no chance. It comes from thinking that this can't get any better. Why do I think that? Because I'm arrogant. Because I think that I know anything. But I don't know anything. And that experience is what freed me, not just from that place. Rabbi Nachman is teaching you that the suffering itself is healing you. How is that possible? Because when I was in that psych ward and I realized I don't know anything, that was what healed me from so much suffering in my life. That not only did I move beyond that space, that very acute place of suffering for the past few years before that, but I actually healed from something I was suffering from my whole life, thinking that I know more than my family, that I know more than my friends, that I know more than my generation, that I know more than my teachers, that I know more than society, that I know more than God, that I know more than anything. I know so much that I don't believe in anything. Rabbi Nachman says it's better to be a fool that believes in everything than to be so smart and not believe in anything, because that person's not really smart at all. And this was the one thing that I noticed about every single person who was in that place. Everyone think they knew. And because they thought they knew, they were suffering so much. Rabbi Nachman says, don't worry. You don't know anything. And that's great, because now you can come back from whatever place that you're in. Because Rabbi Nachman says this is the source of teshuvah. This is the source of returning from whatever place you fall into. Because he says you may fall to the lowest steps, chas v'shalom. And when he says the lowest steps, he's not being poetic. He's not trying to emphasize something which is not based in truth, not based in reality, but it's something even greater than that. That you can literally fall to hell. And Rabbi Nachman says no matter how far you've fallen, he says it's a sore. It's forbidden to give up hope. Just like the Torah says it's a sore to eat non-kosher food. It's a sore to break Shabbat. Rabbi Nachman says it's a sore to give up hope. You're not allowed. You're not allowed. How is it a sore to give up hope? Because tshuva is even higher than the Torah. Chazal teach us in the Gemara. They teach us in the Midrashim. Many, many places it says that tshuva is even higher than the Torah. There's absolutely no place for despair then. Because the whole reason for despair is my life has been turned upside down because of mistakes or errors that I made, because of challenges in my life. But all of those things are really only coming as a result of Torah. Why? Because I've decided on something, that it's going to be a certain way. The Torah dictates that there's a law, there's a din. The whole concept of Torah is that there's laws, there's judgments, right? So in the place of Torah, I have no hope because there's a judgment that's made. That's it. I'm cooked. I'm toast. I'm done. But Rabbi Nachman's bringing you, no, but there's something higher than Torah. There's something higher than truth. It's called tshuva. It's called returning from wherever you are. This is the highest place. In terms of the Sfirot, the Torah is connected to the sphere of Tiferet. Okay? But higher than Tiferet is something called Bina. Bina is called the womb. Bina is called Chava. Bina is called before creation. Bina is called Olam Haba, the world to come. This is the source of tshuva. This is the source of returning from wherever you are. And this is the reason why you can never give up hope. Because even though the Torah may dictate that you need to be in a low place right now, maybe even in hell, but even from that very place itself, you can get back up and you can start all over again. Not just start all over again, but even that the mistakes that you made can actually be transformed to become mitzvot, like it says in Masechet Yoma in the Gemara. That the greatness of Hashem is not only that you can leave your troubles behind, but the troubles themselves can turn into your redemption. They can turn into redemption for everybody around you. That the suffering itself, just like it was for Yosef, his struggles themselves blazed the path for those who came after him to go through exile. And therefore, all of his averot, so to speak, became mitzvot. Like Rav Natan teaches when we had Sichot, that sach, I'm not saying it right, but that stuff that you have to put on top of your sukkah, right? It has to come from something natural. It has to come from something that's considered not essential, right? Something excessive, something you don't need. Let's say like the stalks of wheat, not the wheat itself, but the stalks that you need to put on top of your sukkah. That's your safe haven. That's your refuge. And Rav Natan said, where did that come from? It came from Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the day that we do tshuva, that we're saying sorry for the mistakes that we made in our life. But when you do it from love, the Torah says, when you're not just doing it because you're scared or because you see that things in your life haven't gone the way you wanted them to, you want them to get better. That's not called tshuva from love. But if I say sorry, just because I love Hashem so much, not because I want him to fix my life, but because I actually I just love him, then all of a sudden those errors that we made in the past, they literally become mitzvot. They literally become the sukkah. They become the refuge for the sukkah. And this is the greatness of Hashem, that no matter what we've done in our life, those places themselves can become the source of light. This idea, Rabbi Nachman says, contains tremendously deep mysteries. But the main lesson that we need to know, because we can't comprehend those mysteries, is that even from one's failings, from one's declines, from one's breakage, from one's rupture in their life, one can easily return to Hashem. Like Rabbi Nachman says, that even if I end up in hell, I wouldn't be concerned at all. I would have no despair at all. Why? Because I could find Hashem there too. Because all of this is all according to the dictates of din, of judgment, of Torah. But there's something that's higher than Torah. It's tshuva. And like Moshe Rabbeinu, when he said to the Jewish people, he saw that they were overwhelmed. He said, it's so near to you. And Rashi says, what was he talking about? That it's so near to you. Tshuva, tshuva. It's so near to you. Don't think it's above you. Don't think that Hashem is above you. He's outside of you. He's inside of you. He's within you. Wherever you are, that's where Hashem is. Like the Pasuk in Tehillim says, that in your suffering, I'm with you. I'm with you. To recognize that you can return even from that place. And nothing is beyond Hashem's ability. The most important thing, Rabbi Nachman says, the Ikar, is to never ever give up, but to continue to cry and pray to Hashem. This is the third Sicha of Sichat HaRan. Does anybody have any questions?
No questions, but thank you, Rav.
Of course. You're welcome, Leor. By the way, you should know a lot of people got chizuk from the last time that you commented in the class and you got emotional. A lot of people texted me after that they heard the class afterwards and they got tremendous encouragement from your emotion, which is literally what we just learned about. That a Jew's source of pain can become the refuge for everybody else.
Baruch Hashem.
Any other statements, comments, questions?
No, that was really good. It was,
thank you.
Perfect on time. Thanks, Rav.
Of course. For anybody who has not subscribed to the newsletters that we do every week now for the Parsha, you're making a mistake. I'm trying to take all of the brokenness of my life and turn it into life for everybody else, and Badavka in the writings. We've done an article for every week so far, except for one. putting my heart and soul into it. So for anybody who has not, it's free, like everything that we do. So please just put your email and go on our website, Sion Breslov, and put your email at the bottom, and we'll send you the email every week before Shabbat, and you'll have chizuk, encouragement, and light, and hope for the next week coming up. I wrote an article this past week about how Abraham gave birth to Yitzchak, meaning that Hashem's love, it's what gives birth to the concealment in our life. And it's not fluff. It's not based on like my theories. It's mamish Torah. It's the truth. So it's if you haven't read that article, you go back to our WhatsApp groups. You can read it now. Hopefully, Bezrat Hashem will get a place in our website that we can put up all the articles. I know we were doing the website right now. But please subscribe and tell your friends to subscribe and get your friends on the channel. There's so many people who are struggling and suffering. It goes beyond number and measure, and it's impossible to fathom. Rabbi Nachman has light for everybody, not just for religious Jews, for secular Jews, not just for secular Jews, for non-Jews, not even just for humanity. Rabbi Nachman says that my teachings, they give light to animals and to grass also. So we got to get everybody in. In the end, this is not just for us to have encouragement and light from. We need to be able to give it to our brothers and to our sisters and to lift them up. And don't think that Rabbi Nachman doesn't have what to offer to them. He does. You'd be shocked how many people have had their life turned over from Rabbi Nachman's teachings. And he promises that at the end, everybody's going to need him. So all we have to do is just give it out, give out the love. There's no love like breast love. Okay. So let's get it out to everybody. I think we have like 360 something subscribers on our YouTube channel. I think that there's some people that they literally make videos about complete nonsense, and they have 80 million subscribers on their YouTube channel. I don't know if it's because we're terrible at technology. I don't know if it's because it's hard to find the classes. There's no reason that we shouldn't have billions of people who are watching lessons about Rabbi Nachman and learning this. Rabbi Nachman says, when people are learning my wisdom across the world, you'll know that the redemption is coming. So we have an opportunity to really take part in that. All you have to do is pray for it and, do your little hishtadlut and give it to your friends and family and help bring the redemption closer. B'mirav Yameinu Bezrat Hashem. We should see it soon in our days. Everybody have an amazing day if you're in America, amazing night if you're in Eretz Yisrael. And I'll see you Bezrat Hashem for our next lesson. Everybody have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Amen.
I love your videos.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Bye.